This week we have former professional pitcher Richard Sullivan. Now, Richard is an acclaimed artist and one of the very few artists to be licensed by Major League Baseball. Richard was drafted out of Savannah College of Arts and Design in Savannah, Georgia in 2008 Major League June amateur draft by the Atlanta Braves. In 2008, Richard pitched in low and high single A with an overall record of 4-2 with a cumulative 2.30 ERA and 49 strikeouts in 54.2 innings. In 2009, Richard broke camp with AA Mississippi Braves in Jackson, Mississippi in the Southern League, and he pitched a total of 6 professional seasons. The AutoGraph Ball and Richard Sullivan have an interesting development to announce. Well, Richard, hey, welcome to the AutoGraph Ball in action.
Thanks, Kevin. It's great to be here.
Appreciate it. Hey, so Richard, you're leading a really interesting, eclectic life. You've accomplished so many milestones in life, like, your baseball career and then your career in art. Could you share a little bit about your senior year of high school and your playing experience and the path that took you from high school to the Savannah College of Arts and Design, which is now referred to as SCAD?
Yes. That's a really great, interesting time. In high school, I was just so focused on, baseball and but I didn't know what was next. I didn't really, and art, so baseball and art were always, two passions of mine. And I was always in art class at school, but they didn't really connect for me in high school. I thought they were just two very separate identities I had, and I didn't really talk about my art around my baseball friends, and I didn't really bring up that I was a baseball player in art class. So I just felt this kind of shame, or this, like they're going to make fun of me, and I think I got that a lot. Like, I don't, people don't, they fear what they don't understand type of thing. So a lot of my athletic friends didn't really get, me or my art or whatever, so I was just a different kind of person in high school. But, that all changed when I found SCAD, and my mom and dad were taking me to all these showcases my junior year of high school. And, we probably several of them a summer. And we went to one in Tennessee, like a college showcase. I'm sure they still have those going on now. And one of SCAD's assistant coaches was there, and I put on my application that I was interested in graphic design or something. I didn't really know what that meant at the time, but he saw that and reached out, and they invited me. They flew me down to Savannah as kind of a workout. And this is my junior year of high school. So all of this happened my junior year. So they flew me down. For the weekend, this is in the fall, I think, of that year. And I pitched against their whole team. Basically, I did well. I struck out some of their seniors, and I think the pitching coach saw some potential in me, because at the time, I was a lefty throwing 85 to 88, but not really touching 90 yet. I didn't. So there's just some more development that needed to happen. But they saw potential, and they liked what they saw, and they offered me a scholarship to this art school that had a baseball team, and they had a full athletic program besides football. So, and I didn't know that existed until this showcase. So I think the universe kind of aligned in that moment, because I didn't know what I was looking for, but I knew what I wasn't looking for. I didn't really want to go to a traditional D1 school that I was going to, I knew I wanted to still create art and continue that passion. So this magical, moment happened where I was able to go to this school, but I didn't really know how special that was until after, many, many years later.
When you were able to pull it all together and really analyze it.
Right. And so I was signed my junior year. So all my senior year, I knew I was going to SCAD. So my senior year was just, trying to get better. And I think we had a pretty good team in high school, but we didn't make it to state, it was, but I had fun in high school. I think baseball kind of saved say like baseball was the only like the place I felt the most alive, the most myself. You know, I'm sure a lot of athletes feel that, like, because being around your team and being around your friends and having that power, like I was good at baseball. Like people respected me on the baseball field. I knew my place there, you know, and outside of baseball, like socially and in school, like it was kind of difficult. So I think in that way, I like baseball was the love of my life, you know, it was awesome. So.
I understand. Real quick question. So when you were in high school, was there a certain teacher, art teacher or something like that, that saw in you and said, hey, why don't you delve into this? Why don't you dive a little deeper?
Yeah, I had one of my high school art teacher, Mr. Whitehouse. He was very kind and supportive to me, and he saw, you know, some potential. But I think at that time, baseball took a lot of energy, you know, and I didn't have, like, I was spending all summer, you know, in you know, travel ball and all this stuff. So I think 70% of my time was devoted to baseball. So that the art time wasn't that much, you know, when I was in there and focused on it, I was, you know, I loved it and I liked it, you know, I was good at it. And I think my art teacher saw that. He knew that I wasn't as focused on my art as, you know, say my coaches in, you know, I think my coaches in baseball, I had this pitching coach that in high school, I would go to him every Sunday. He was a college coach in Louisville, and he was a really great support system for me and kind of a mentor. And I think throughout my whole life, my coaches have been my mentors and people I've looked up to, and kind of this, you know, I've gotten a lot out of baseball that, you know, I didn't get outside of it. So.
Awesome. Oh, and by the way, I did some research on the Savannah College of Art and Design, and it was ranked as the #1 private arts university in the United States 2 years in a row in 2017, 2018 by Red Dot Design Rankings. I'm not familiar with Red Dot Design Rankings, but they may be something that, you know, in terms of art schools and whatnot, you might understand exactly what that means.
Yeah, it's a top tier art school, and it has transformed, you know, since I've been there. I think it's developed, and I think they do a great job marketing themselves. But yeah, if you're interested in the arts, and if you know that's your passion, you can find I knew I wanted to go to SCAD when I found the brochure where they have all the majors, and, you know, I'm sure colleges send that out to everyone, but I saw that and I was like, I couldn't believe how many majors in art there were. And like, I was like, you can go to school for this, like illustration or graphic design or computer. I was like kind of interested in like game design at that point, but that didn't, you know, I very quickly realized I wasn't meant to do that. But so it was a magical place, you know, it was a place where I didn't know existed until I saw it. And I think a lot of kids, well, maybe not now. Like, I think everyone has access to so much information now. But I grew up like kind of when the internet was getting its start, you know, getting its leg. So there wasn't a lot of, there wasn't a Google or like we didn't really understand all that technology. So
we're kind of showing our age there, Richard. Like eBay and Google, those things didn't exist, man. It was AOL, the dial-up. Remember
exactly?
You really had to want
to. Right. That, you know, I'll always remember that like AOL sound. Yeah, but.
So, dude, check this out. At SCAD from 2007 to 2010, there were 3 players drafted out of there, all pitchers. Ryan Pope. Does that name sound familiar?
Oh yeah, Ryan's a good friend of mine. Yeah.
And then Steven Shackelford.
Yes.
Are y'all all still tight?
Yeah, I keep in touch with Ryan. He's you know, I think all of your baseball relationships, your friendships, when you see him, you're the best buds ever. But like, it's hard to like connect. You know, sometimes you don't see each other for many years, and then but you'll always have that connection. You know, that you'll always know how hard you worked. And it's like kind of related to the military in a sense, but we weren't putting our lives on the line, but we were in the, you know, struggling in practice and had to cheer each other on and like be a team and be, you know, so I think those bonding moments in sports are some of the strongest you have in your life, because it is a struggle. It is. I mean, I think the reason we had so many people drafted was because our pitching coach, our head coach too, but like our pitching coach was just like so hard on us in a, physical, like he would just, work us. He tore us down to build us back up, type of thing.
The discipline, that whole.
Yeah. And he knew what he was talking about. He was just very heavy on the mental game of baseball, and kind of like and a lot of these different practices that he did made me the pitcher I am or was, So, I think I credit like SCAD's program for all those like pitching successes. And he just saw, like, he was really good about seeing the potential, in someone. So.
Did you know you were being scouted by the Braves while you were playing at SCAD?
Yeah, my junior year was, I knew that going to my junior year, like there was one scout at the first game, and then 5 scouts, and then 10 scouts, and then 20, and then 30s at the end of my, that season. So, and I think there was a shift in my sophomore year of, like, in summer ball, I would always go to these summer leagues once our SCAD season was done in like summer break. And my sophomore year of that summer ball, I started throwing a sinker with like a 2-seam fastball, and kind of started to click a little bit, and things started just putting it all together, putting things, gaining more confidence in myself, and being more consistent. Because I was always like a hard worker, and like I just wanted to please I wanted to please my coach. I wanted to please, had this internal like drive. Like I wanted to, every day I wanted to get better at something. And I think that's what I internalize, is like, what am I doing today to get better? And even in art too. So.
Is the sinker something that you decided on your own that you were going to try to start throwing, or did your coach say, "Hey, Richard, try this"?
Maybe like my summer ball coach was like, maybe threw a sinker, and he was like, "Hey, try this out. Play catch with this."
When you jumped it, were you like, "Yeah, all right."
And it just clicked, and it was like, and my ball moved a lot anyway. And my sinker just like at the last moment is just explode downwards, and is something that I tried to perfect it then, and that momentum carried into my junior year, and I think it was more confidence too. I felt ready. I think a lot of athletes do, or me especially, like I had all this ability and stuff, but like I never believed in it. I never like, I always was like, didn't take a compliment very well, and I always was like, struggled to, even though like I should have, even though I was dominating, or even though I got I was having success, I always like was like, well, I don't know, that self-confidence didn't come easy to me. And
maybe that's what forced you and pushed you and made you want to get better and better and better. Maybe that's a good thing in an athlete, to have, to be confident on the mound, of course, but to have that little bit of self-doubt of, I can do better if I work a little harder. And
exactly.
Right on.
Yeah. And that translates to art too. Is like, I think there is a lot of uncertainty and doubt in art, in any creative thing. I think, whether it be on the mound, and because that's a whole nother topic, but like there's just so many similarities between the two. And so like all of this momentum was building, and like my junior year, I just had this explosive year, and I was ready for it. I was like, I'm like, I want to get drafted. I want to just reach my full potential. I think that's what I told myself. And I didn't tell myself I wanted to get to the big leagues. I didn't put that kind of pressure on me, but I was like, as long as I reach my full potential as a pitcher, that's my goal. And that's what I worked every day to accomplish. And it was yeah, like it was challenging, but it was also very exciting. Like I loved being on the mound, like feeling, I don't know, like I mean, I'm sure every athlete feels this way, but like feeling present and in the flow and in the moment and using your body in a way that is challenging, but it's not like you've worked for this. So it's not like a trauma zone. It's like this challenge zone where you're like in control of yourself and just striking somebody out or putting that pitch where you want it. Like that's the best feeling in the world. There's no better feeling than, accomplishing that with your body. So I don't know.
That's awesome. Hey, do you remember where you were and what you were doing when you heard the news that you were drafted by the Braves?
Yeah, very clearly. That was a very stressful 2 days because.
What do you mean?
The Braves called me like a few days before that, and I had an agent at that point, and I like 2 weeks before this, like I flew to Arizona for this pre-draft workout and was driving around. It was like a busy, hectic few weeks leading up to the draft, and I flew back home. I was at my dad's house, and girlfriend at the time, and we were all there, and but the Braves called me like 2-3 days before the draft, and they were like, we're going to take you in an earlier round, just be ready for it. And I was like, well, that sounds great. Let's do that. Like, and then the first day went by, nobody called, they didn't draft me. So the first 10 rounds were that first day. So I was like panicking. I was like, oh my gosh, like, this is not going to happen anymore. Like, what am I going to do?
That's when the stress kicked in.
Yeah. Like it was just pure like fear of like uncertainty for the future. And but that second day in the 11th round early, the Braves called and my agent called, and they were very kind to give me close to the signing bonus that they were going to give me, but in a later round. So the Braves treated me, they gave me every opportunity. Like I can't say enough good things about the Braves organization as just, player development and the coaches, and like it just formed like the base, my adult, foundation a little bit, being in that organization. So
when you got drafted, you went to when you showed up for spring training, what was that? Do you have like any fun stories you can share with the younger viewers about like a cool, neat, fun experience, like when you first walked in? Who was the star that you saw that you're like, oh my God, that's Chipper Jones, or something?
Yeah, there's quite a few, I guess. Well, so you get drafted in June, and you go straight to it's called short season. It's in Danville, Virginia. It's like rookie league. So it took a few weeks to get my contract signed because my agent gave me he wanted to include money for me to go back to school, which was very essential after baseball. But anyway, so this short season, I drove to Danville, Virginia from my house in Louisville, Kentucky. And this is like the start of my pro ball career. I was just like, okay, here we go. Like, this is it. I was very nervous and just kind of, it's like, oh, this is the next step, but I was ready for it. I was just like prepared. I was just had this, inner, like I was just wanting to do it, and I think, but the first day I showed up, like Craig Kimbrell, which I'm sure you're familiar with Craig, he was drafted the same year as I was. And I think we showed up in the same few hours in Danville. And, Craig is just the nicest guy in the world. And he, just a Southern Alabama guy. And but he wasn't, I think at that point, I didn't know who the prospects were. I didn't know who was the first rounder or who anything. I was just kind of in my own little bubble of the SCAD bubble. I think it was just I wasn't connected to the baseball world as much as I was just, wanted to play baseball. And so all of these guys started showing up, like Julio Teheran was on their team. And Craig and who else? So that was just a new experience. I think it was, and it blew my mind how good these people were. I think that was the main impression the first few weeks of just like Craig's throwing 98 with a, 85-mile-an-hour curveball, and just I played catch with him a few times. You really had to like when he threw his curveball, you had to be like, okay, I'm ready for it.
Then I would have ran over and grabbed the face mask, popped it on. Okay.
Right. But just being around those people and around such talented people, I think brings out the best in you as well. I think that in any situation, I would, anything in life, I think if you surround yourself with talented, hardworking people that are inspired to be better, then that brings out another level in you. And I think that's what was happening. I always say I learned, more in 6 months, my first year of pro ball than I had my entire life, because like the coaches, the situation, you thought about things differently because you were just so focused on that every day and
completely immersed in that
immersed in it. Yeah. And that's what makes people better is I think that's what separates, you can watch, a person on TV, a major league player, and like, how do they do that? But they're immersed in it. They do it every single day. They are living and breathing that energy. And I think that's how, and then that allows them to be inspired on the field. Like you could say like, oh, how did he make that play? He was just like in the flow and trusting his intuition and his talent. I think when you have that and you combine it with years of experience, and that's what the minor leagues does for you. It's like, because baseball is like the only game where you take, in college you play what, like, I don't know, 80 games or less.
38, something like that. Well, fall ball, and you have those things.
Yeah, but it's just like the major league season is 162 games, and that you have to take, you have to get your body ready, or from like 80 or even less games to 162 games. So it takes a long time to like build up that energy and build up that stamina. So, but as like when I got to high A, I started playing with Freddie Freeman and Jason Hayward and some of the, and everyone knew how special Jason was, and Freddie as well. They were both, they're best friends, just competing together. But like Freddie at that point was hitting a lot of doubles, and I don't think his home runs were that high, and not as high as, but he was. I guess what I'm saying is everybody thought Jason was like going to be the next Hank Aaron, and Jason's an amazing player. Don't get me wrong; he's an incredible athlete, and but I think Freddie just turned into something else. He's an MVP caliber, like just superstar, and he's been the face of Atlanta. So it was really special to see them compete together and them play together, and like I said, when you're around great, great players, it makes you want to be great as well. And I think I don't know, like I don't think I knew how special that time period was. Like I was like I didn't appreciate that as much. I wish if I told my younger self, just like appreciate what you're going through and like enjoy it more, because I was always like
put so much pressure
and like wanting to get to that next step. I was always like, well, when am I going to get to AA and AAA, and just putting that kind of pressure on yourself instead of like being I was a good teammate, but enjoying time with your friends and
being
celebrating,
being present and feeling.
Being present for sure. And
let me ask you this: in the times when you're on the hill, there's some Turk the Quirk. There's been some really neat baseball personalities out there. Do you remember?
Uh-huh.
What I'm talking about? So he would. Did you have any kind of, as a left-handed pitcher, did you have any kind of superstitions or anything like that before you got on the hill, or was there a routine you kept or anything like that?
Yeah, I was a pretty routine-oriented person for sure. I definitely needed that. Like my pitching day as a starter, it kind of I would get up at like 10 or 11 and then, or 9 or 10, and then get lunch somewhere special. I was like, I'm going to eat really well that day. And then, so yeah, and I kind of just like the nervous energy was building all day, and it kind of seeps out like right at the end. Like the hardest part, I'm sure other pitchers and athletes relate to this, but I hate waiting. I just wanted to get going. I didn't that pitching day. I was just like, I just wanted to start throwing.
I
And
always wanted to get up out of bed, just kind of wake up, put on uniform, and go.
well, it was just like that whole day was like nervous energy, and you had to sit with that. You had to deal with that nerves. And I took a book and I would read or like listen to music. Music was a huge part of my routine before. But I don't think I had any like weird, like I would have to wear the same socks or whatever, I think,
Can't step on the chalk lines, man.
yeah, don't step on the chalk lines, and just trying to calm my nerves. And music, I'm a big, was at the time, like loved Tool and heavy, kind of some hard rock. And I think that music put me in the right headspace, because people always say like, oh, you're such a nice guy. How can you like, how do you, I just switched my head, like I had to like get in that mind frame of like, I'm going to dominate. I'm going to strike, I'm going to kind of, yeah, like that. When you got on the mound, you just had to be somebody else.
So Tool is what always did it for me. I would listen to Tool to flip the switch.
Yeah, Tool. Yeah,
right.
That was, I resonated with his music more. I understand it more now, but like back then, I was like, "Why is this?" It's just
like so angry.
He's angry, but it's like it's not a hate angry. It's like he's angry at something,
It's a frustration point, man.
Frustration, yeah. But it's not like he's hateful, and I think that's
No, it's his music was his release.
His release, exactly, and you felt that, yeah.
So let's get into when you were getting to the end of your baseball career and art really started to speak to you. When did you decide to make that transition?
Well, it was a hard and slow process. I would say that it wasn't like one day. I started like dreaming about, this is in 2012, and I had been struggling in AA for probably 2 years and just trying to figure out like, how can I make that next step? And I think the higher I got, the more pressure I put on myself, the more, I lost my sinker at some point. I was just trying to like change my mechanics, and I think I was coachable up to a fall, I guess, because I had at one point I had like 3 or 4 coaches, pitching coaches, because in 1 year I jumped like 3 levels. So I had 3 different people telling me what to do, or like trying to be like, hey, you should pitch on the left side of the mound or the right side of the mound, or you should make this adjustment. And instead of like trusting what got me there, at every level, I was like, I had to do something different. I had to be better, And I think ultimately that was a detriment. I didn't trust my what got me there. So at that point, I was very, having a lot of anxiety, a lot of like just waking up and being like, I know I'm not happy. I know I should be happy, but I'm not happy. I know I'm not going to quit, but I know that something has to happen. And it's very hard to deal with those feelings, because I knew how special baseball was to me and how much I cared about it, but something wasn't clicking, something wasn't right. And I think art started to seep into that point. I remember going to Michael's, like an art store in Mississippi. I was staying at a host family's house in Mississippi, and I got some watercolor paint and some paper and started like drawing and painting outside of, the game or in my room. So I guess it was just this slow process of realizing like, I think I was like, I didn't know how to like say to myself, like, it's okay for you to let go of baseball, because I think I had all this, like, I didn't want to disappoint my dad or my family or my coaches. And, all of this, like, internal dialogue of like disappointing people, or, I think I just kind of internalized, like people were saying like, oh, you'll get to the big leagues. Like you have the stuff for it. And like, I didn't believe all that. I think you need to believe it to do it. And I just was like, oh, you're crazy. I don't know. And that was I think my undoing as a ball player is the mental side of it. So art allowed me to realize like, okay, baseball's not everything. There is a life outside of baseball.
And that's where your story, I'm sorry, but that's where your story gets really interesting, man, because you've got work that's accepted. I mean, you have a permanent collection in the National Baseball Hall of Fame. You've got work in the Yogi Berra Museum. You've got work in the Louisville Slugger Museum and the Kentucky Derby Museum. In 2019, you teamed up with Topps and you created a 22-card set called Momentum Rising. And I've seen that set, man. It's beautiful. It's beautiful watercolor work.
And the Braves project too. And so I think that once I realized that art could take over my, there's a lot of, but that was several years, I think every athlete deals with, and I've met, like, now that I'm out of baseball, like I've met Hall of Famers and guys that had 20-year careers in the major or the big leagues. And everyone goes through the process of the grieving process of leaving baseball, no matter how short or long your career was. And I realized like, wow, like I'm not alone in this. And everyone, even those guys that had all these, had 20-year career, they're still struggling with it. And it's not like, so I think that I realized that, and that made me feel like, oh, it's okay, So, and I think I did reach my full potential in baseball. And I think what I'm doing now is what I meant to be doing. Absolutely. And that it's just my evolution as a person, and so, and what got me through with art is like the Braves were building this new stadium, and I was like, well, I'm going to get my work into there. I don't know how, I don't know what I'm going to do, but that's my goal. And it lined up perfectly because that was like 3 years. They built their stadium in 2017 and I was just getting back into art in 2014. So I had all this like 3 years to like figure it out. So that's where that story begins, I guess.
Tell us about the how the Topps baseball card, Momentum Rising. Tell us how did that whole relationship, how did that come to be?
Well, that was a very recent project. And I have made connections after the Braves project. I made connections to Major League Baseball Players Association and like some of their licensing department guys, and they have a coordinator. It's like the baseball card coordinator, I think. Anyway, like he deals directly with Topps, and he made a recommendation to Topps and be like, hey, this guy, you should look at this guy. You should have a conversation. And so I started to have some phone calls with Topps and kind of figure, it was like a collaboration. They were like, well, we could do 20 cards, we could do 10, we could do 1. And we came to, and they were like, what do you want to do? And I presented like, let's do momentum. I created the Momentum Rising theme of like these rising stars, up and coming, superstars in the game, and people that were, relevant, but also had this long career ahead of them as well. So, and my goal was to create work in 2019, and then a new crop of players could be 2020 and 2021. So this consistent thing with Topps. So yeah, it was kind of a collaboration with both of us. They were like, okay, get a list together and let's figure it out. And that was last year. So once we signed the paperwork, I had like 3 months to complete everything. So it was, I wanted the set to come out like around World Series time. So it was one of the best, obviously is a dream come true. It's, I couldn't fathom like 5 years 5 years ago, like I was just trying to like figure it all out. I didn't.
Just the huge steps in life that they weren't even steps, man. They were leaps.
Well, but at the beginning, I think it's like a lot of smaller steps. The National Baseball Hall of Fame, like I reached out to them. I donated that. I think this could be applied for any industry. I was just trying to reach out to people that maybe would like what I'm doing. And I didn't know them. And I'd be happy with an email. I'd be happy if they opened my email, even if it was a no. That I was like, that's a win. That drove me forward, that kept me going through the first few years. Is like, I guess it's kind of the universe. It was like the universe is telling me like, keep going, with the Baseball Hall of Fame. Like, it was like, okay, you're in the right place. Like, and I took that as like, okay, let's create more work. And so it was like we were talking about, it's like the snowball effect that has really, and I've had a lot of support too. Like I met someone when I got out of school, and we started an agency together, and she's still running that agency, but her name's Kate Moore. She allowed me to work on my painting while she kind of helped me with some of the business stuff. And we don't work together anymore, but during that time, it was really important for me to have that support, because I don't know, at that point I was like, I don't know what to price my work at. Like, I'll give you this for free. Like, I wanted some, as an artist, it's hard to know what to price your work at, and because it's so personal to you. And I think artists that are listening, or even whatever industry you're in, I think you have to be creative when you make it, and it has to be very personal when you make it. But once it's done, it's a piece, it's like, it's not yours anymore. It's done. You have to think of it as like a, not a monetary thing, but as a commodity, or like as a, something for sale. And I think that was really hard thing for me to separate sometimes, and still is. But
That's kind of curious, but because here you pour your heart and soul into a piece, and then when it's time to let go of it, I can see that being kind of tough, man. If I was able to keep prints of it, I think it'd be easier. But right. I can totally see that. You've got a lot of beautiful artwork, and we are so excited to, in the way that the universe kind of brought us together is through a mutual friend who I will thank to the end of my days for doing that. But we are going to put together a collaborative effort, where Richard is going to basically design, moving forward for the AutoGraph ball, the outer package, our retail package. And man, I can't tell you how excited we are about that. And so here's a little something interesting that we came up with that I wanted to share with you, is we're announcing a limited collector's edition of only 100 AutoGraph balls that will be manufactured and sold with Richard's AutoGraph baseball card. So in the AutoGraph ball, we're going to have, I always like to give a presentation of how it works. Yeah. We'll have a presentation where Richard will design one of his watercolors, and I picked out some of my favorite images of Richard from his playing days. There's some really cool pictures I've been playing, so hopefully he'll go with one of those. Totally his choice. But we'll have Richard's baseball card there, and it'll be signed. And again, only 100 of those will be out there. But also moving forward, every single AutoGraph ball, every baseball edition AutoGraph ball that is sold, it'll have a standard baseball card of Richard. And on the back side of it, there will be a QR code reader where young fans can take their phones, hit that QR code. It'll take them to the website where they can see all of Richard's collections from the athletes and all the MLB logos and teams that you have, and Fernando Tatis, and just all that great artwork. Man, the kids will be able to go in there and pick one out to hang on their wall at home. So we're really excited about that, and very thankful, Richard, that you decided to move forward with us on that.
Oh yeah, I think this is a great collaboration. I mean, just talk, our conversations definitely align, our ideals and kind of directions are aligned. So I think it's a great fit. So thank you.
Once again, man, the universe, it's coming together, brother.
It's a amazing thing when you accept it and you can, just embrace it, I guess. Yeah.
Absolutely. Hey, so for kids out there, the younger viewers, do you have any like tips or hints? Because, as you were growing up in it, there were points in time where baseball was kind of an outlet for you to be more outgoing. And then with art, that's a very personal kind of thing. Do you have any tips or anything like that, or mediums or any where beginning artists could get going and kind of express themselves? What would you recommend to the younger person trying to get kicked off?
For an artist, yeah, I think it's important to have fun, when you're young and embrace your interests. Like if you love baseball, or if you love outside, or if you love animals or video games or anything, just start drawing that, or if you like drawing the figure or the portrait or still lifes, like just experiment, I think, and try every medium out there, with experiment with building 3D objects, with clay, with everything, I think. And if you if something clicks more than the other thing, then try that again, and it's kind of a whittling down process of you don't want to be I think they say, like, even in sports, like, it's not good to play just one sport your whole life growing up, like you need a lot of different, and your body is, molded by the movements you're doing. So that's true with art too. I think if you just paint or if you just draw, then you're not allowing your brain to like use other parts of creativity that you could be using if you were building a 3D object or using mixed media, or does that make sense?
It does. So, and you kind of inspired me as well. I started working on a piece that I want to share with you. Kind of, let me know if am I on the right track? Is that pretty good?
Oh yeah. I mean, I would say you are definitely, you can build on that, Kevin,
But no, seriously, I'm going to show you something real quick. I did this my senior year of high school. Hang on. I got to show you real quick.
Yeah.
And like, in all seriousness, this literally, I keep it on my wall, but literally went into an art fair or whatever.
That's you? You did that?
I really did. Yeah. I swear to God,
amazing.
I did this my senior year of.
So, see, you have it. You can do it. And
dude, I used to, whenever I was a kid, I used to paint. I used to draw all the time. And I would draw little Star Wars people.
Right.
And,
why don't you do that anymore? Are you?
I still have canvases in that's to my attic, and there's a big room in there that I can turn into like a studio. Yeah. But I still have my easels, and I still have the canvases and oils. I like the oils.
Right. So yeah, I would, and that's the escape or a release, and I think using your creativity, and even in sports too. I think when you're younger and you have whatever's going on in your life, but you don't have that outlet to like release that, it turns into something negative. But I think sports allows a lot of people to vent or release that energy in a very positive way. And that is hugely important. And especially now, like kids I can't imagine what it's like growing up in today's society. So as with all the social media,
yes,
all the information out there that you have. And so I think having this, and I don't think people in general aren't very present or focused on the moment anymore, but you have to be as an athlete. If you aren't successful. So I think that in itself is a really special thing to connect to yourself and your teammates and the environment. So
And also, before we finish up, I want to let folks know that you have an email club. So your fans, they can go to your website. It's richardsullivanart.com. And they can also go there and they can purchase your MLB logos and your players collections online.
Yeah.
And we'll have links, actually this link right here. You can type this in, go straight. You can't click on it. You got to type it in. And you'll be able to go straight to Richard's website. But hey, so Richard, at this point, is there anything that you've got, like, your own art, hobbies, philanthropies, friends' business? Is there anything, autism awareness, is there anything out there that you would like to kind of elaborate to let folks know that you want to get behind or announce, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think charity work, I've loved donating original paintings and pieces and supporting charities throughout my, the last 4 or 5 years. And this year I did a special painting for the Coalition for the Homeless in Louisville. I'm, based in Louisville, Kentucky. And I think after that, like, we did this live painting, and it inspired me to reach out to some homeless people in my neighborhood. So I am definitely inspired to help, donate and help the homeless population. And also I think, giving, there's so many things we could be, giving to right now, Kevin. I think just giving children that aren't, in a positive environment, a safe space. And I think sports is, I think that next year I'm hopefully going to work on putting together camp for kids in the West End, and just introducing them to baseball, and introducing them to a sport that they might never have played or thought about, but also giving them a positive environment to be in. And so there's so many things that we could be doing to help other people. And I think this year especially, I've realized how much I've been so focused on, my career, what I'm doing. And it's hard to like balance that, because without that, I wouldn't be where I am now. But like, giving back is a huge part of, like, I think, how we can connect and evolve society and our minds. And so I think that's a huge, moving forward, I would love to whatever I can do. I think connecting more and talking more about my experience and what I went through, I hope maybe that would connect or inspire somebody else. So I think what we're talking about today is I would love to do more of just sharing my story and kind of giving people, or giving young kids, especially young athletes or artists or anyone, like a platform to say, like, I want to do more, or let's try this, or so I don't know if that makes sense.
It does. Makes perfect sense. It's one of those, I read this really good book once, and it said something along the lines of, you've got to get your own house in order before you can help others.
You're right.
That time that we spend working on ourselves, what we're really doing is we're making ourselves as a very useful tool that we can be used for good stuff down the road. That's how I kind of.
No, and you're exactly right. And that's what I've been doing. And I think it's only until this year I've realized, like, I don't have all my house in order, like
we never will, man.
Yeah, that's a lifetime work, but like, I definitely feel like I'm in a better place to give back now than I ever have been. So that's exciting. Yeah.
It is. Well, Richard, man, I really thank you so much for joining us and sharing your moments from professional baseball and your artwork, which is beautiful. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing that with us. And I really look forward to working with you for many moons to come, my friend.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Kevin. It's an honor to be here.
Likewise. We'll talk soon.
Okay. Thanks so much.